Right. Lunch and learn will actually be a breakfast. So it's on February 18th, and it's called Start Your Own Practice. So that should be of interest. So make a mental note, pencil it in. Now I would like to introduce Kathy White. We are very pleased to have Kathy here. She's a world speaker, and thrilled that she now makes her home in Evil. And I'm going to read her bio. Okay. Kathy's dynamic energy and passion for helping organizations and individuals reach their highest potential have established leadership balance with her business partner Bobby LaFleur and her two other companies, because she's a little bit of an overachiever. Assessment Leaders and Business Builders LLC into the thriving growing enterprises that they are today. In recognition of her extraordinary work, Smart Business nominated Kathy White for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award in both 2009 and 2010. Before venturing out as an entrepreneur, Kathy worked in the corporate world in a variety of leadership roles, including Vice President and General Manager of Sunrise Technologies and Senior Sales and Marketing Executive at Fuji Optical. She began her trailblazing career at a little startup company in Minnesota known as Apple Computer. She is a nationally recognized speaker, and I think internationally. Can I say that? Yeah. No education inspired commitment to helping others present active leadership for the business and economic ideas, where she mentors every day. And go to her website and I think all of the information at leadershipbalance.com to learn more about leadershipbalance.com. And with that,
thank you. Thanks. It's great to be here. Thank you for selecting to come listen to my topic over President Obama's today, so I appreciate that. That was a great bio. You probably wrote that, so thank you. I don't like introductions. I just like to just give out information and to help the best way I can. So we have a really interesting topic today about the changing legal profession and what you and your colleagues can do to embrace the changes. Some of the changes have already arrived, and some of them are certainly on the horizon. But before we get started, do you mind just going around the room and just saying your name and where you practice? That would be great. Thanks.
Jane Wood, I'm the scripting and work with Red Time.
How do you go to Concordia? I'm doing an after. I'm an assistant professor. I'm here at Vista and I'm in
So I've been living in Idaho, the Boise area for 6 years now, and I'm from the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, where I was raised, and I started out my my corporate world life. Really excited about being on my own since 1998. We're going to talk about today. I just returned from Rio. My business colleague Bobby Laporte and I just returned from speaking at the Global Law Annual Conference in Rio, and proud to say that we were selected as one of 2 Global Law preferred partners for that legal organization. And so we're off to Madrid in March, and then Tokyo, Canada, and then we'll round out their annual meeting, which is in the United States, North Carolina. And we really touched a nerve with this organization. And Bobby and I have been doing work now in the legal industry, and it's not the only industry we work in. They just are adopting our research and our solutions into the legal industry. So we've been working with Hanson Bridget in San Francisco and other law firms for the past 3 years. In global law, we spoke at Global Law initially in June in Seattle on this very topic, and they found it so compelling and spot on that they asked us to join their organization and really take our message throughout the globe, so to speak. So we focus on 3 particular elements, and I'll just briefly go through a scaled down version of PowerPoint that we use. I'd like it interactive, so please, we have a small group, beautiful women here today, bright women. Ask questions as I go along. Some of this may hit home to you, some of it may be a provocative, stirring an interest that you may have in one of the particular topics that I'm about to approach. But please ask any questions as we go along. So when we started speaking about the changing legal industry, how many of you know what some of the changing trends are? I didn't have my glasses here somewhere. Does anyone have any idea? Go ahead. Yeah, that's definitely one of them.
I would add to that a lot of lawyers going into business and not necessarily using the law to actually practice. I think that being available 24 hours a day seems to be a significant change in our country. Don't be the opposite. Close the door. Bring your phone.
Yeah, that darn mobile application, right? It's that cell phone that we're wired to 24/7. Yeah, so a couple of them you touched on. Let me read you this emerging list. So the first one, in no particular order, but is e-discovery, right? The explosive use of information overload, and how do you electronically store your information so you have more access to it, or you have access to it more easily. It's not taking up a lot of paper, and when you're working with other people, other colleagues, that they have access to that shared information. So that is one of the big emerging trends, is how do you manage that full ESI platform. Multi-generational workforce. It's the first time in U.S. history where we have 4 generations, actually 5 generations, working under the same law firm, or in the same law group. First time in U.S. history. So we have the traditionalists, right? We have the baby boomers. We have Gen X. We have Gen Y, millennials. And then we have the new Gen Z. Gen Z, my daughter's age, early 20s, coming into the workforce. And all generations have their strengths, right? They're bringing their talents into the firm. But we all have weaknesses too. And what's interesting, on the last 3 decades, generations entering or in the workforce, is that they want things done differently. They don't want to work those long hours. They don't want work-life balance. They want more community involvement. So it's more about us instead of me. And then with the newer generation, Z generation, on the fast track like we've never seen before. And so when they enter the workforce in their late 20s, and I'll give you my daughter as an example. I shouldn't say my daughter, I should say that as an example, but she is my daughter. She is now working on Wall Street. She just turned 23. She went to school at USC and did her undergrad and master's in 4 years in accounting. She's finishing her CPA exams. She decided to pursue her employment with Pricewaterhouse. She went to my employment for a year. Thankfully, she told me that after she got the yes. But she wanted to go on to get a master's in finance at Vanderbilt. So she has passed 2 parts of 3 of her charter financial CFA. So that's what we're dealing with. When they come into the workforce, they want to see decision making, they want to see collaboration like you've never seen it before. So all 5 generations change our work environment in a good way or in some challenging ways. So multi-work generation is definitely something that we need to embrace and think about. How are we going to get along? And I'll talk about that in my number 3, social networking. The social media platform has really changed the way you practice law. People have a choice, an easy choice now to go out and find lawyers, right? And they want to know what your background is. They don't want to sit in a high-rise office and have a formal meeting. They're going to check you out before that meeting. It is also a big game changer. Work-life balance, globalization, eco-conscious. So that whole "Let's Go Green" movement, virtual law firms, big change in the legal industry. Alternative legal service delivery, and then finally alternative billing methods. So those are some of the things that you probably have heard about or will hear about in the near future. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is what were 3 points of key interest during our presentations as we travel across the globe. And the first one is value creation. So how are you contributing to your firm's value? There's 4 segments to that, as you can see from that slide. So it's the firm, it's your client, it's your team members, and it's yourself. So how are you creating values in those 4 areas? And sometimes that's a lot of self-discovery and self-reflection. I know I'm delivering quality work. I know that what's the average billable number of hours that associates are striving for when they try to become partners? What are some of the numbers you hear in the industry? How many hours? 1,500 hours, 1,700 hours, 2,000 hours, 2,500 hours, right? That's a lot of hours. And we'll talk about how you can, in those 4 areas, when you have some time, sit down and write out a statement for each one of those quadrants. How are you creating value for your firm? If you were to ask your clients to do a survey on you and the quality of your delivery, what would your clients say? That's your personal brand, by the way. I want to know what my clients are saying about me. Yeah. Yeah, so the self is about you, right? How do you feel about the work that you do? How are you rewarding yourself through the work that you are doing? Because there's a lot of people in the legal industry that have gone to college and have these fabulous degrees, like plaques in their office. Guess what? They can't get a lawyer. bar was required, and I had a lot of pressure from my parents to go to law school because it's prestigious. Prestigious. Hard to deliver, continue to deliver quality legal work, not having fun making money and loving what you do. So that's the part in the song. The song is, how are you rewarded? How do you feel you are being rewarded? Are you satisfied? Are you passionate? And you feel that you're valuable 360 days. That was a great question. And guess what? We always leave ourselves out. We think of others usually, right? And ourselves. So in this particular exercise, I challenge you because it's tough to ask that question about the self. But I'm glad you brought it up. Does that answer your question? So I think that will be a good exercise for you. And for those of you in school pursuing your law degree, I think it will be even more important and more timely for you now. Why are you going to law school? What do you want to do? How do you want to make a difference? How are you going to brand yourself? Number two, one of my favorite parts is the DNA of your law. In our particular leadership balance model, we're focusing on 5 key competencies. One is the individual's IQ. You have to be smart enough to do the work that you do. Number 2, your EI, your emotional intelligence. How are you in regard to working with others? Do you have a natural tendency to like being around other people? Or do you have to work harder, right? Are you more of an individual contributor? And you have to work harder in working with teams. So another self-reflection point is, how are you in working relationships? How do you get along with others? How do you manage yourself? How do you manage your time? I think fundamentally one of the best ways to ask that question about yourself, right, is how am I on that EI scale, is to ask others about you. How many of you have participated or have taken a 360 assessment before? 360 degrees, someone evaluates you. Your boss, your direct reports, if you have people working for you, your peers, and then others could be outside the client. Very eye-opening, right? To have someone evaluate you in all those areas. But I encourage you, if you haven't had a 360 done, you may want to think about doing that if you're managing people. And even if you're not managing people and you're working in teams, I think it's very important to have that reflection in terms of what are others saying and thinking about how I speak, how I talk, and how I work with others. Yeah. So, isn't that a great question? If you can't have unfiltered, respectful conversation in your work environment, then what would you say about that firm's culture? Pretty close. Good question. I think having that discussion, I think being authentic and building that trust starts with asking those kind of questions. Doing a survey. You know, a lot of people don't feel comfortable about sharing their mind. You take a pulse of the organization, take a survey, and then the management team reviews those results. And they will say, one, we're going to share this data. The people in our law firm, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 people or whether it's 25 or 100 people. openness to share information. Do you have a specific example I could help you with? Or? Hmm?
Three associates,
Hmm?
then, another 3 or 4 paralegal.
Hmm? That's a good way to do it. One of the companies I have is an assessment company. We do a lot of 360s. So Heidi and her team actually do the processing. It's very confidential. Right? The only thing that's not confidential is we don't know who our boss is. And I'm so happy it's not confidential, because why wouldn't you want to know what your boss thinks of you? And more importantly, why wouldn't your boss want to know what you think about working for he or she? I encourage and I strongly support 360 tools. There's a lot of them out there, and people are using the same one for because one is validated, and I think it's easy to use. It takes 15 minutes, and it's a phenomenal tool. You don't have to go out there and have new 360s made. And it's all internet related, so it's all very high tech. But good points. Having worked in the legal industry, right, I know how associates and paralegals feel about some of the partners in law firms. They're treated very poorly. Not all, but sometimes they're treated very disrespectfully. Right? They're a partner right here, and everyone else is down here. I like to have and see leadership team firms treat all people equally, regardless of how much money they make, and regardless of the time. I'm a real proponent of respectful workplace. So I don't know, I'm hoping that the partner group gets along well, and they're open, but it's really not the majority of law firms. That I happen to be working, Bobby and I happen to be working with a very emerging law firm. How everyone is treated from top down and then bottoms up. But it takes time, right? You have to have time to have those conversations with people. It takes you got resonating well with you. You have to digest that, work with your leadership team, and solve issues. Thank you for asking that question. So value creation, the DNA of your law firm. 3 other points. VQ, the vision. So this is so important. And while we are so busy doing work, especially lawyers, a lot of transactional work, a lot of technical work, in your organization or in your own firm, the future of the firm is going to look like treading water, staying afloat, keeping your doors open to a law firm of the future. If you're not changing, you're not evolving. Got to keep changing, got to keep adapting, got to keep moving forward. And we live in a very, very fast-paced, innovative world nowadays. So different. Computers are changing every year. It's very difficult. It's like closing your eyes and dreaming, right? And dreaming about your success, or visioning your success. Visualize How are you going to be practicing law in 5 years and in 10 years? So someone has to be looking forward in your organization, in your firms. And then two other things, the self. I talked about this just briefly. We call it the self-quotient. So, do you like what you do? My business partner, Bobby, is is an Iron woman. She's just finishing, or she just completed 6 Ironman, right? So she is the athlete in our partnership, and lots of endurance. So she speaks, there's a lot of research about athletes, right, and their endurance, and athletes in law firms, stamina, endurance, passion. The self is very important. And so take some time to think about, what's your passion? Are you fit? Our 2 components in our model is ready to lead, which is the intelligence, your emotional intelligence, and then also the vision part. So that's ready to lead. The fit to lead is mental health, physical fitness, endurance, passion, energy, liking and loving what you do. So that's, and then the final one is balance. And you hear a lot about that now in the workplace, especially with Gen X, Y, and now Z. They want balance. They want to leave at 5 o'clock to go play sports, or to go pick up their children, or to just go. So work-life balance is fundamental now in the workplace, in health, and all those components. And some of the dynamics with partners who are boomers and traditionalists, it's like, wow, do you know how hard I had to work to get that partner sign on my office door? And look at these people, they're just coming in here, and they want to work less hours. They don't want to work that hard, but they want to make partner. So those are some of the conversations that we hear and that we coach partners through with new generations and just their workforce in general. And then finally, on the work-life balance equation, helping people go from tired to inspired. And what does that look like? We know that, if we're happy at home, hopefully we're happy in our job life, right? And if we're not happy in our job life and we're going home, then we're human. We typically bring it home, right? So that work-life balance is a key driver in our health and in our happiness. So those are the 3 things that we touch upon in more length in our model, as well as in our speaking engagements. Any questions on those 3? Yes.
Well, I keep hearing about work-life balance and the older people.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like this.
Mhm. It really is happening. Yeah. And I think that it's probably not happening at the fast pace that blogs and journals and papers that are written on this topic would like you to think, that there's a lot of speed and decisiveness around these changing legal trends. It's slow moving. Some of them are not taking all 10. They're choosing what's most important given the culture of one's law firm, you know, they'll pick and choose. You can't do all of those. If you're practicing law, then you have committees, right, that help you formulate the strategies that go along to change. So they're picking and choosing. The firms that we're working with are very progressive, and some of them are hitting all 10. But you know, they have partners of 100 to 200 law partners, and so they can put these committees together and put the game plan, you know, together. So they're developing strategies and then the action plans. But these changes don't happen overnight. You know, it's an evolution. It happens over time. But you know, one of the things that we're seeing is that, you know, in these high-rise law firms downtown, that firms, I won't share names, are downsizing their big law office, beautiful buildings, and they're having shared partner offices, try and implement that change, but it's happening. So it is, Edith, but maybe, you know, not so much here in Boise, but I can tell you that it is happening in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Dallas, Chicago, New York. These conversations are taking place. Some of the easiest changes, believe it or not, are centered around workforce change. Those are some of the easiest implementations. It's easier than changing billable hours, right? You're affecting comp plans. It's a lot easier than moving, downsizing a building. But when you implement progressive work-life balance strategies or progressive strategies that help improve your culture and your work environment, those are the easiest ones to improve. So for example, we had a firm take a pulse check on their culture, because what they were saying were their core values on their website, badges. There was a disconnect on how the employees at all levels, from receptionists to paralegals to associates, partners to partners, were really feeling. And then when you even slice that and dice those into buckets, right, you could see that there was a greater disconnect from the partner team downwards. So an example would be that they did a pulse check. They addressed some of the top issues, and they put initiatives around to changing it. More importantly, they held some partners accountable for bad behavior. So you have to take some bold action. So that's one example. Another example is team building. You know, most law firms who have multifaceted sections, right? Real estate, public works, litigation, they tend to be siloed, right, in law firms. Well, this particular firm wanted to break down the walls, wanted more collaboration, wanted people working together, right? And so that was one initiative that we worked on with some very good results. Another initiative was succession planning. So as people are not managing sections, or they have institutional clients with the firm and they need to hand that off to another partner or a becoming associate or what have you, those transitional initiatives are very challenging. So how do you hand that off? Because the client is used to working with you, the partner, and so how do you develop a process for a plan for that? Different styles, right? You have one person who maybe managing partner has a different style to another partner that they're bringing in. So we put together a roadmap, and it took a year. And this happened to be with the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Huge political ramifications. So does that give you some examples? And in these brochure, we cite 4 studies, or very brief case studies on, you know, who we've, not the companies that we work with, but just some, ideas on, you know, we call it a SAR, situation, action, and results of, you know, what do you how did we handle a rainmaker within a firm that was very disruptive? Very, very disruptive. And we see a lot of that. And what happens when you have top rainmakers in a law firm? What tends to happen? They are. Boy, I don't want to touch that because they're bringing in less business, to our firm. But guess what? That person is very disruptive. So we implemented a very intense coaching program. And not all coaching programs are successful. We didn't know about what the outcome of this one was going to be, but we're happy to say that not only was it successful, but that the managing partner asked this particular partner if they would like to keep working with us, even though they had transitioned into a much better leadership, competency, delivery, attitude, working with others. It was quite a huge shift. And so we're now continuing to work with actually two people, very, very different personalities, but just did a lot of collateral damage within the organization. And so that's turned around. So there's a lot of things that you could do. I don't do any work yet here in Idaho. So I was going to ask you if you just wanted to write down or share something. If you could change one thing in your law firm, because I'd like to talk about that, maybe give you some suggestions. What would it be? Or what would you like to see differently?
I look around the table, with the exception of maybe Megan, and I'm not sure how big the firm is. We're all from either smaller firms or working for the Attorney General or academics. It's just interesting to me that some of the, I'm not sure what other people's areas are, but ours are probably a little bit more intimate. Like how do we, initiate systemic change, or it's more like how to deal with different personalities, or how can I get my practice where I want it to be, get people excited for that. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah. And what's interesting is that the issues facing the law industry in law firms, whether you're a big firm or whether you're a small firm, still exist. It's just the magnitude of the change. So in your firm, we're dealing with jerks in our organization. We're dealing with people that wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or think because they're billing all these hours and making a firm a lot of money that they're the prima donnas of the firm. Or the vision. You want to grow your organization. There's a lot of competition out there for legal work. There's a lot of competition. There's competition in every industry. So how do you create a competitive advantage for yourself? Those are the kind of discussions in a small law firm. It's like, we're doing okay now, but where are we going to be next year and in 5 years? And what we're seeing is a lot more consolidation in the legal industry.
I think this is a comment on the big items like electronic discovery.
Mm-hmm.
There are economies of scale.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Is when you start out as a associate, it's a big mystery, and no one will explain it to you. And because the person will spot, there's some people here who are closer to maybe and so the only reason that has been made clear to me, because it's not now a seasoned lawyer, and now I'm just learning how to understand it. And what I think law firms should do, and even at these times, is explain to people how you get where you want to go.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Absolutely.
And there seems to be this attitude of,
It's
well,
mysterious,
you'll-
right?
you'll-
Yeah.
you'll learn it.
Yeah. You put in your time, then I'll let you know that you know, you're close to
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just think law firms
Turnover, exactly. Mhm. Perfect, you hit,
I was just gonna add on to that, only that there's a trend in sponsors, or I'm not sure exactly what we call them, mentors.
yeah.
But I also heard them referred to as sponsors, as someone who will help you individually with your career path. It needs to be that.
So fundamentally, here's what you can do. Piggybacking on some of your comments is to establish a roadmap for someone coming into your law firm. And there's two tracks, right? There's the partner track and there's the non-partner track. And don't be a bit surprised that the new lawyers coming into law firms, some of them are not, the majority of them are not interested in the partner track. They want to make as much money. They want to have the same visibility of work. They want the same, but they don't need the partner title. So be open-minded. This whole change, the mindset of the legal industry is changing. What works for you may not work for that new employee coming into your law firm. You have to ask the question, you know, what's your career aspirations? What do you want to do? And let me help you, get there. Because they have a choice, right? Let me help you get there. And if I can't, let me have someone sponsor you within our firm, or you know, the Betty system. We'll set up a mentor program. And it doesn't matter if you have 10 people in your firm or hundreds of people. But still those types of programs apply to anybody coming into the legal field or any field. You know, how am I going to be onboarded? You know, what's the culture? So when you are hiring or you are out looking for a job, ask those tough questions. Describe to me. It's no longer someone sitting across the table, you know, asking you all these questions. You have to take ownership. That's the self quotient. You have to take ownership for your path. You ask those questions. Ask, what's the culture of your law firm? Describe to me the culture of your law firm. And then ask to talk to some people before you accept. So if trust and respect is truly the foundation to the firm, are people trusting of one another, and are they speaking and treating others with respect? All levels, including the managing partner. So ask those questions. What type of development programs? See, a lot of what we're seeing now in the new generations is they want to know, how are you going to develop them? How are you going to, you know, what educational opportunities are there for me? What do you offer? How many seminars can I go to a year? So skills are really important to people. So you have to ask the question in terms of what are they looking for? Because we're all different.
This is maybe like way too nuts and bolts, but my question would be, how does someone, like a brand new graduate, or if you're in between jobs, like how do they have the freedom to ask those questions? I think they would just be like, thank you. You know, I just think it's a common, like, a lot of people who aren't working, I can't imagine that, I don't know if people afford to ask those questions. I mean, at some point you can, and then once you get your foot in the door, you know, and if you're not happy at your current firm, I suppose you could go out and ask those questions and make your next step, but this is like, out of law school.
So here's a mind shift. Here's a mind shift for all of you. If I were the managing partner or owner of a firm, and I have 10 people coming in for an interview, I'm going to listen very intently to the questions that they ask me. And when someone asks me about the culture, I'm going to say, light bulb goes off. This person who I'm interviewing is interested in the culture that we have in this firm. That's a good question. This person wants to know about development. So perhaps this person will stay in my firm, right? Not just get experience and then go down the street. So while we may think those are bold questions, they're really not. They're the right questions to ask. And also, if those questions are not being asked, then perhaps you could take the opportunity to describe what type of culture you have. But more importantly, you're in the driver's seat. You're making the hiring decisions. You have 10 people that you're interviewing, all 10 personalities. So how are you going to select the best person to fit in your organization? Think about this. It's not just doing the quality or quantity of work. It's how is this individual going to come into our team and augment the team with little discretion. Passionate about the work that they do. And I guarantee you, if you interview 10 people, you're lucky if you get 2 people that'll fit into your organization. 80-20 rule. I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's really really important. So encourage young students who are coming into the legal industry, you know, ask those questions. Take that bold approach. This is your career. And guess what? No one will manage your career better than you. There you go. Those are the best. Yeah, they're the ones that'll give you.
It's all about the money.
That's right. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So culture's a big deal. And before we go into a firm and we do some work, we're going to do our due diligence, as Heidi knows, about the culture. Because there's no way you're going to change, improve, do anything successfully unless you get your arms around the culture of the organization. And it doesn't matter if it's 5, 10 people, or 100. There is an atmosphere about the way we do business. This is how we do business. It's XYZ law. It's part of your culture. So we ask for survey results. We like it at least within a year. If they haven't had it done, as I mentioned earlier, we'll do a pulse check. But, you know, this is what we do for a living. So it doesn't take us very long. When we walk in that door, if we see a receptionist smiling, looking up at us, engaged, that's a start. When we go to a conference room or we're in a particular area, we'll observe, you know, are people talking? Are people laughing? What's the atmosphere? You could feel that when you walk in. Don't you feel that when you walk into your clients? What about your clients? Let's dial it back. Can you tell when you walk into your client's office whether this client has a good culture or atmosphere? I'm sure we can. We could do it in any, whether it's a dental office or one of our clients or, you know, professor at school, or you just get this inner feeling about, wow, you know, this person's having a bad day, or wow, this day this place, or, you know, this person's smiling. It really fundamentally starts with culture. And if you do not like the environment that you're working in, you have two choices, right? You can opt to leave, right? Or you can opt in to make a difference. And I like those that want to make a difference. It's hard work, but it's calling people out, right? It's a partner calling another partner out behind closed doors respectfully and say, you know what, I really shouldn't talk to the paralegal that way, or you shouldn't demean, you know, your associate partner, right? That's really not part of our culture. So you have to be able to make a change and to have those difficult, you know, conversations. But if you're going out to an interview, for those of you that are looking for jobs, you know, you're going to do your homework. You're going to go to the law firm. You're going to go to the company, right, and do your research. That's like 101. And you can see what their core values are typically, you know, on their website. And you can ask those questions. And you could say, one of your core values is, I'll just something simplistic, servicing the client, going up and beyond delivery to our clients. So Ms. Eva, could you explain, you know, can you give me an example of what that would look like in your firm? Can you give me an example of how you would make that actionable? How it would transact into something meaningful? Yeah. So it's a pulse check. It's a pulse check, and it's also about having open door policies. If you said your door is always open, when you have that type of a culture, right? If you have that type of a culture, then you're more apt to share openly and respectfully in the organization. So, yeah, the law, it's tough, right, for new lawyers going into the legal industry. There's really not a lot of jobs available. I know that firms are really working hard and smart in retaining their top lawyers, right? They don't want them to leave, because who are the first ones to leave? Your top lawyers. The good ones are the first ones to leave. And then you're left with, you know, when you have, you know, one of the things that we do in our presentation is we actually conduct a workshop where you can actually analyze the DNA of your law firm. So a lot of people tend to be very high on IQ, right? Really do good work, but they're very low on emotional intelligence. So it's how they do the work, and it's very disruptive. We focus on, you know, where in this whole DNA model do the majority of your employees lie, and always we see a very low VQ on the vision. Who is looking forward in your law firm? Because we're all too busy transacting, doing the work, but it's such a really key component. You know, so in your management meetings, at the end of the meeting, maybe you can ask for someone to share, what is the trend? What are we doing about the trends? Putting together a committee of someone who could be working on a movement or an initiative. Otherwise, it just becomes status quo. And then you're going to end up a year or two down the road and say, boy, I should have been looking at this. I should have been, forward thinking. I should have had a committee around this, and, et cetera. Yes, we do see, and if the managing partner or the key decision maker says, then you need to delegate some of your work to an associate partner, and you need to allocate some time, because this is an initiative we're taking on. I would rather have people opt in than rather have me selected. But usually it's a pretty big directive that, and usually there's 3 or 4 pretty, game-changing initiatives going on in the larger law firms. But there's no reason why you can't at least be thinking about them. Even if you take baby steps as a small firm, you need to be taking some steps, because these trends are not going to go away. And the magnitude of how will they impact Idaho, how will they impact some of your clients. I'd like to go back to one other comment about value creation that I forgot to mention. Creating value 360 degrees is a game changer for the law industry. It's a mind shift, right? Because you're working on transactional work. But when you start being an advisor, and some of you may already be doing this, but if you put your business hat on and you're creating value for your clients, so they're just not calling you, right, when there's an issue and you're going to have a transaction, that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, Bill, I just read this article about a new law or something that just happened in your industry, right? And I thought maybe you and I can sit down and talk about it. Maybe I can help you work on your strategic plan to add this. So you're creating value to your clients, which is a game changer in law industry. So that's that value creation. So a takeaway, if there was one thing you could change, what would it be in your firm or self or any of those quadrants? I'll start with you, Lindy. Changing law firm. Yeah. It's actually anything. It could be on the sheet. It could be, something you're experiencing in your law firm. Some of this apply, you feel, to your firm, but it could be a challenge that you have that you'd like to change within your firm, or something that you'd like to change within yourself. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We're actually seeing more and more of that small law firms. So what we experience and what we see is that if you're leading with value instead of billing, and I know that there's a tremendous amount of pressure on lawyers for those billable hours, but the mind shift is if you, thank you for coming, if you lead with value and how I can help you, the client, it's a game changer. Money comes. Have you, do you feel comfortable in having those conversations with the partners or? Mhm. Is that one of your aspirations, is to become a? Yeah. Yeah. So, a recommendation would be, there's a very, this is a very small knit community of lawyers, in my opinion. I may not do a lot of work here, but I know a lot of lawyers here. I have a lot of friends here that they're very open to talking and networking. So, find a couple that you feel it's a safe haven and just share your thoughts, and maybe they can provide you with some ideas or suggestions, whether you want to go to partner or not. It is a different work environment here in Idaho, so there's not a lot of opportunity to change jobs quickly in the legal industry. And when you do, everyone knows one another. So I know you have to probably be careful in those discussions. If you do opt for the partner route, I suggest you put a game plan together on making that happen. You're 10 years into it. If that's what you want to do, you deserve to do it. 10 years in, and maybe find the right firm to do that. It's really very unsettling to me. I've spent the majority of my life managing people, and I like to think that I'm a pretty good leader. I do respect people, and I respect their opinions that differ to my opinion. And it just gets me going when I walk into an organization and I can feel and see and then hear how people are treated. Um, I love having a board call me in to have a difficult conversation with the CEO of a company. I have no qualms recommending to the board of eliminating that behavior. Yeah. So I hear you, and it's very disruptive and it's very hurtful when people are mistreated. Yeah, it's hard, and I'll be the first one to stand up here and say it sounds good, but my colleague, my team member over here will say, Kathy, I hope you're not working, and it is hard. And to be realistic, it challenges you. You have to prioritize, and not everything is going to be a priority. And I'm learning more and more, trying to push off and not make every deadline a priority. My business partner is completely wired differently than I am. And so it was a struggle, at first because everything isn't a priority. But we're a yin and yang. We've learned to really respect our differences, what we bring to the table. And if she's better at something, she gets to do it. If I'm better at something, then I get to do it. And we both collaborate. So it's about prioritizing and if you have somebody that you can help delegate, to help you, that you could delegate work to, it's not everything is a priority. So that's what I found. That's what I've learned through the years. Not everything is a priority. We put that pressure on ourselves, or our clients put it on us. But you can push back to your client and say, unless it's, you have a court date or, there's something and we're going to work weekends, right? But you may ask them, I've got some deadlines coming up. Can I get this to you, in 3 days instead of tomorrow? Can I get this to you on Wednesday? So you have to be, you got to take You have to look after yourself in terms of what you can and cannot do, and how to manage your priorities. It's something you think about every day. When you go to bed at night, right, and you're exhausted, you're thinking about, okay, what's my day look like tomorrow? What time am I starting? But, the kids have any special activities going on tomorrow? So all these things are in your mind. But hopefully write them out and see which ones are truly, a priority. And anything that you could shift a little bit.
I think I have two things to work on. One is, I think I know where I want to be in 10 years, but I need a roadmap the goals to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other is emotional intelligence. I'm a little bit of a robot. And I think everybody else around me should just be a robot and get it done.
You're so.
I'm just, I don't no, I can forget to say good morning in the morning, and I'm just right on kind of like, this is what we're doing, instead of just some niceties, it's like a social lubricant.
So if two things. One, you can take a formal survey. You can have a formal survey done if you want feedback.
Wait, am I burned?
Yeah. But I would recommend someone who is asking me, that question. This is what I want to do. I want to work on the EI. And the first thing I would say is, okay, just put a little sheet of paper together or send an email out saying that you're doing some self-discovery and some self-development, and you would like to know, right, is there anything, what's working with me, what's not working with me, what can I do to help you, or what can you do to help me, or, it's just asking those questions and opening that door, and it's amazing. It's amazing. You may not like some of the things that you hear, but for someone to take the time to give you some feedback, you need to listen, right? I mean, that's pretty spectacular if someone thinks highly enough to give you some feedback. So just an example, you really don't know how your EI is unless you measure it.
I think, well, I don't think this is realistic at all. Good. Is one thing. But then but what I would like is sort of transparent, system for answering
Mhm.
what are the things that I need to do. What
And fair. Yeah. 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 Thank you. It's a win-win for both. That's great. That's the magic. That's the magic. Because everybody wins. And at least you're thinking about something. So it's good. Well, you have my cards. I know that I went over those points there. I always talk too much. But, great questions. So happy to be here. If you have any questions, give me a call. I'm happy to talk to you. Have coffee. I do a lot of pro bono. So you can call me and have coffee talk. I'm happy to do that. Thank you. Thank you.